Hey y'all, here's this recording that I've kind of been waiting for them to repost that I tried to record last time and the volume was really, really low. So again, this is about the new formulations that are going out in Shakeology, and I really would love for you to take a listen to this. Again, this group is not about whether you drink Shakeology, it's about being healthy. But one thing I really encourage folks to do is listen and get educated about whatever you're doing. And if Shakeology is one of those things you're curious about and want to know more about, I really would appreciate you listening to this. Getting educated is half of the part of being healthy and knowing what helps you get there. So if that's the green smoothie, if it's chugging your water, if it's drinking whatever, just please be educated, because a lot of times Shakeology gets lumped into that protein shake category, and it is absolutely not a protein shake. It's not a get skinny drink. It's not anything like that. It's food in its most purest form, and just getting educated was big for me because I was a scrutinizer in the beginning as well. And I just, it makes it easy for me to stay on that clean eating cycle. So Darin is a scientist. He is one of the co-creators of Shakeology. What I like about how Beachbody did this is he has talked about Shakeology on his Super Life page, but he's also a scientist. So sometimes the food thing gets garbled and then you get lost in all of his greatness. And I don't want you to lose the awesomeness of Shakeology. And I like that Beachbody is using an interviewer here, so you can see the whole roundedness of what comes in that bag. So it's a great, great video, and it helps you learn about the ingredients that are in there on the scientist level and more of the layperson level. So here we go.
Coaches, extremely excited to have Darin on the phone today, and I realize that some of you may be newer coaches. We had Darin and Isabel on our Super Saturday, and if you haven't seen that video, if you go to the Coach Online office, we have a clip there that you can watch, and it was absolutely just fascinating. We needed more time, but let me just tell you a little bit about Darin before I bring him on. We refer to him as the super food hunter. That means literally he goes all over the world looking for the best ingredients that can provide the right kind of health benefits to include in Shakeology and other products that we have. He is the Shakeology and Ultimate Reset co-formulator, a nutritional scientist. He is leading a training workshop this year at Summit called Shakeology and Healthy Eating. He's the author of Super Life, the 5 Forces that will make you healthy, fit, and get this, eternally awesome. Now, that's the one that I'm, Darin, that I'm probably most excited about, because every once in a while I touch awesomeness, but usually I fall short. Anyway, we're absolutely thrilled to have you with us this morning, all the way from Malibu, Darin Olien. Darin, I can hear you chuckling, so you're there.
Thank you, Jeff. It's great to be here with you.
Well, I mean, we've got more important stuff to talk about, was getting into the formulation of Shakeology, but I just really want, this is going to be a call after this call about just really how I become eternally awesome. And I know you're going to say, Jeff, read the book another time. But yeah. Just from an orientation, Darin, how long have you, just so people know, how long have you been associated with Beachbody, and how did that whole thing start?
Yeah, well, it was 2006, where I was actually, I'd been traveling a lot. I had been formulating some stuff on my own and had every intention of creating my own company, and had formulas. And serendipitously, a guy I was working with ran into Isabel, and at the time, Isabel said, hey, my husband is thinking, or my boyfriend at the time is thinking about creating this meal replacement type of shake, and we heard about you, and I had a meeting with Isabel first, and we just clicked with philosophies, with understanding about the industry, and they said, and then I met Carl, and it was kind of like a handshake, let's get this deal done, and it was really, I had turned down a very big company already with formulation, because I wouldn't be able to create the kind of formula I would be proud of. With having the constraints of these big companies and what they're putting out. But Carl was different, massively different. He said, I want to affect the lives of millions of people with this. And I believed him, number one. And number two, he said, don't worry about the price. You just formulate You find this stuff and let me worry about the marketing of it. And I was like, whoa, that's a different kind of landscape. And so it started. So in 2006, I went to work. I put my head down, started pulling all these contacts I had around the world, and spent way too much time in the labs. And we started coming up with formulas. And then in 2008, the Shakeology was launched. And and the success of that, and really the need we started to fill. And that's really what the brilliance of Beachbody and the fun of the formula and what it's able to contribute from all of these different botanicals and fill that need of what people really are essentially starving from and are kind of massively running around nutrient-stripped life of convenient foods and a lot of stress. So yeah, that was kind of the start of it.
Well, you touched a little bit on that in the Super Saturday video, and so coaches, you saw a little 5-minute clip on the Super Saturday video, but and then we'll get into this. But there was really a unique thing that happened when we were shooting. At least to me, we were shooting the Super Saturday video. Carl was interviewing Isabel and Darin, and we were talking about the introduction of these new vegan flavors, and then also getting a little bit of context on the reason for Shakeology and why it made sense and really what it represents. And you can, if you step back for a minute and think about these shoots, you've got camera people there and sound people there, this whole production crew, and you mess up a little bit and you go back and go over all these kinds of things, and you're only trying to get 5 minutes. But Darin and Isabel started to just share this magic, and there was this piece where I think it started with most of the production crew and people watching going, okay, let's get this piece shot, let's get this done. And it evolved into this thing where people were looking at each other going, this is outstanding. We need to capture this whole thing, the information that's being shared, the reason for Shakeology, what people are missing in their understanding and in their, like as you shared, their nutrient-stripped diet. They need to know this information. So, just from an insider, Darin, watching when you and Isabel were talking, it was like I gained this entirely new appreciation. There was this epiphany and knowledge that was like, wow. So anyway, thank you for that. And everybody's going, yeah, I wish I would have been there and seen it all. But it was pretty cool.
Well, and just to touch on that for a second, it really came down to this wasn't a job. This was a mission, and the responsibility I felt immediately was, what's the question I'm going to ask myself to put this formula out? And it was, what do people require in this day and age, right here, right now, as a mass population? What do we need? And that Shakeology was birthed from that question, and that comes in it by way of some of the greatest botanicals in the world, giving their constituents their vitamins and their minerals. And what is that? That's filling in the gaps of what it is that we require. And that's where we're at. We're in this monocropping world. We're in this place where we have convenient foods that most big companies don't really care about you other than if it puts more money in their pocket. So Isabel and I were very clear that this was about a delivery system. Shakeology is a delivery system of some of the greatest botanicals in the world, not just to have a business, but to fulfill a mission. And if it wasn't truthful coming from Carl, I could, if it wasn't just like the other company I had turned down, there wasn't anything I could give a shit about. Just to have money, I have plenty of things to do, and I don't need to waste my time. And so it's really that. It's fulfilling that mission of filling in the gaps so that people have a greater chance of thriving and having a greater life than they did before.
Interesting. I just came back from an quote unquote industry event last week where I was speaking, and they always are intrigued by Beachbody and the success that we've had. But it was so interesting to listen to many of these businesses, not all, but many of these businesses where the product was secondary or even tertiary, third in line, it seemed like. I don't know what came next, but to, you know, the opportunity to making money. And you've got the sense that whatever the product is that's secondary to this. And it was so fun for me to be able to stand up there. Fun's the wrong word. It was just that you had this sense of integrity and this sense of pride that you can say, look, this is what our business is built on. It's built on hard work from a physical standpoint. People have to get in, they have to jump in and do real work to get real results. But it's also supported and driven by this phenomenal nutritional product that is very, very, real. And I made the comment to them that I said, we believe it's the best in the world, and I reserve your right to think that yours is second best, but it's not. Anyway, got to chuckle. But well, listen, let's jump into this. We just introduced the new vegan flavors, the cafe latte and vanilla. Some people may be asking the question, why does it take a bit of time to get flavoring right? I mean, you'd think, that's an easy deal.
Yeah, well, any adjustment in the flavor, you have to understand that so many tests are involved in making sure that the enzymes, the probiotics, and all the constituents within each ingredient, because you have to understand some active compounds and constituents in each product, and some of these are very been used for centuries because of their benefits. They have a lot of active compounds. And so if you have one ingredient, let's say it has 20 active compounds, and then you times that by 65 that also have their own 10 compounds, you have an interaction that takes a lot of understanding and a lot of testing to make sure that we're not just throwing in powders. We're making sure that they work together synergistically and deliver on what it is that they're supposed to be delivered on. So with that alone, one little adjustment changes the whole thing. So even if you're focusing on flavor, well, that also changes it. So again, adding in new ingredients, you have to test, you have to audit, you have to do a lot of research and investigation into those single ingredients. But then you have to do, again, back into and redo all of the testing again every time you introduce just one ingredient. And in this case, we've introduced 3. So there is a lot, and it's a lot that goes back. And this is, I can't stress this enough, this kind of thing with our research and development team, who are brilliant and smart and thorough, and with our quality assurance team that are brilliant, smart, and have a lot of miles under their butt to travel around to make sure that facilities are passing audits and the quality of the ingredients are safe. There's a ton that goes on into that. And so, yes, unfortunately for me, it's hard for me to wait for a long time. Like, for example, chaga I've been wanting to get in this formula for 5, 6, 7 years. But it was unsustainable, the unsustainable sources. There was a lot of things in the industry that just wasn't there. So, there's a lot of things that have to happen in order for that to show up in the ingredient. And listen, some botanicals will never be able to be in Shakeology because they just won't work in this kind of presentation. So you find stuff out along the way, and especially with these exotic botanicals from around the world.
Yeah. So I just announced that we are including these new ingredients into our complete Shakeology lineup. But in your mind, why this reformulation? I mean, it was pretty good, but why the reformulation, Darin?
Well, I mean, it's really simple. When you find botanicals that can exponentially give more to the formula, and add in and continue to ramp up and make better the formula based on innovations, based on testing, based on the botanicals themselves, based on availability, we just can't help ourselves as formulators. It was so hard for me to stop the formula and lock it in the beginning. I have a list of 100 botanicals that I would love to see in the formula at one point. But these in particular, matcha has been used for thousands of years, and it is such a special ceremonial process coming out of Japan, and such a special form of green tea that all of those healthy benefits we just had to get in the formula. And then chaga itself is, I could speak a week on the reverence I have for chaga. So these ones are just very, very special, and really a long-waited process for them to make it into the formula.
Well, let me break that down. Just if you could take maybe 1 minute. I know you could speak for weeks on this, but if you were to say the reason I felt so passionately about matcha, you used the word ceremonial. I'm not quite sure what that means, but tell us what matcha brings and what chaga, why you felt so passionately about each. I mean, probably the lay version of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the simple version of chaga, the ceremonial aspect of it is that's because of this special process. And actually, this is a very interesting thing about matcha, is like many of the green teas are harvested a few times a year, whereas matcha, they actually cut down the amount of sun exposure that matcha gets, and these young leaves then generate huge amounts of antioxidants because they're restricted in their environment from the sun. So photosynthesis is ramped up, so their chlorophyll content goes way up and their antioxidants go way up. So those two things alone, there's been reports that matcha has up to 100 times more antioxidants than just a regular green tea. So again, Shakeology's philosophy is these things are greater than the sum of their parts. So when we're able to add in something with high antioxidants that help the reduce the oxidation, and ultimately oxidation and free radical damage is how we age, how we break down, how we can't repair. So again, matcha was a huge component with its antioxidants and chlorophyll content. And then shifting to the king of the forest, the diamond of the forest, the king of mushrooms, and the king of herbs. These are things that have been revered throughout traditional Chinese medicine, throughout the Siberian, the Vikings, the Nordics, the Japanese. They've been using this amazing mushroom that doesn't even look like a mushroom. It almost looks like a virus on the birch tree. And this thing is what all these cultures have revered as potentially the greatest mushroom or the greatest herb, which they call it the king, right? So this, of course, come on, we have to have the king of mushrooms, the king of herbs. We have to have that in Shakeology, of course. So this thing is largely giving the greatest, this has been reported as the greatest antioxidant, call it food, call it herb, in the world, right? So again, we're going after some of the free radical damage. It also helps massively the stress reduction of the body, so it's very adaptogenic as well. So it, along with all of the other adaptogens, we are really providing the body with the ability to help the immune system tremendously, to bring in more free radical scavengers and with the antioxidants, and then really help the body deal with this crazy stress that we are piling on top of ourselves. So those are the general aspects of why these are. These are two very, very powerful herbs, but they're also something that have been used throughout cultures for tens of thousands of years. So again, a long process to get there. They weren't ready at the time of original formulating, but they absolutely are ready now and sustainable and ecologically friendly. And we finally got them in the formula.
Well, we should probably just stop the call right now because, I mean, just as you described the king, the diamond, it's like, who wouldn't want this, these benefits? But honestly, it gets me just even more excited about Shakeology. As you look at the non-vegan formulas, the original formulas, we have enhanced. We've done a little bit more with that, enhanced vitamin minerals. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the original idea was the original formulas. We're continuing to enhance the added vitamins and minerals and make sure that those are the best. With the vegans, we decided to let it fall as they lay in the origin of the foods themselves that we have. So we haven't added in any vitamins and minerals to the vegan, and there's pluses and minuses to everything. Yes, you get benefits from adding vitamins and minerals from the original formula, but at the same time, we wanted to keep the vegans just completely pure in their own delivery system and not add. So it's not the only way you could actually put vitamins and minerals on a bag is if you standardize them. Because plants are going up and down with their vitamins and minerals, percentages here and there based on processing, based on growing, based on the seasons, all of that stuff. You can't put vitamins and minerals on the bag if you're not standardizing them and adding them. But you are getting all of the vitamins and minerals and amino acids. You're still getting all of that with the vegans. You just don't have the standardized added in vitamins and minerals. So I just want to make that distinction.
Okay. One thing that read a little bit about is that we've included organic cane sugar, and some people go, they hear the word sugar,
yeah, and
they go, they have an allergic reaction and go, can't be good. Can you give some context to that?
Absolutely. Again, this is for us, it's all about quality over everything else. And organic cane sugar is very low processed, meaning that it's not stripped of anything. It's not an isolated constituent. It's not stripped in being a white sugar. It's not even remotely the same. There's several handfuls of amino acids, 10, 11 minerals, and 5 to 10 vitamins that are coming in the organic cane sugar. Now, the most important thing is we still have the Lohan-Gao, we still have the stevia, we still have these other things. And also, we weren't that happy with some of the other sweeteners that we use. The processors, they just weren't kind of stepping up to the standard. So we were able to move to this organic cane sugar and have, of course, being organic, we don't have the pesticides, the herbicides, all of that worry that you get with any kind of manipulation. But the most important thing is our glycemic index, and this is super important, actually has gone down. So the load at which that spikes any insulin and all of it has actually gone down, super low. And with the formula, we've increased the fiber, and most of the they've all increased. So again, your absorption of that sugar has slowed down, and so therefore, when you're consuming it, you're getting less and less of a spike. Again, organic cane sugar giving way more than just sugar itself. All right. So again, we're not using that much, but when it's used in addition to the other sweetening systems, then we get a lot more benefit. So,
it's interesting, and I'm certainly not a scientist, but the one thing I do appreciate is the fact that sometimes people tend to be extremists, I think, in some ways, and I think the art and the science really is, finding the right balance and understanding really the key driver of what a product is, and to maximize what that is. And I think that I didn't say that very well, but I've learned that that's what the key piece is, and that's what the differentiator is between maybe a good product and a great product.
Yeah, you look at any of these, meal replacement shakes and bars and all of this stuff, they haven't even done their homework typically or tested their stuff, and the glycemic load is huge. And we have, consciously gone into making sure, because if I gave you this formula without being sweet, Jeff, we wouldn't be having this conversation with anybody because they wouldn't be drinking it. It would be Isabel and I in our kitchen drinking this stuff on our own. And, it is a very delicate process of fighting with flavor companies to make sure that we have a higher standard, to make sure that the flavoring systems are wonderful and the sweetening systems are balanced and not, easy to throw a bunch of sweetener in there and just blast it and make it sweet. But it's a trick to make it be contributive and to make it be low glycemic, and to have it be super low in the total grams, to make it as sweet and as wonderful and as beautiful and creamy as it is. It's a miracle that formula tastes as good as it does without the harsh chemicals and flow agents that typically get thrown in many other products and shakes.